The low hum of the docking bay airlock filled the silence as Thomas Reed adjusted his tool belt. The Earth Space Authority had cautioned him, this mission was unlike any repair job he'd encountered. First human technician to board a SCI vessel, his supervisor had declared, a blend of pride and apprehension in his tone. Don't mess it up. Thomas double-checked his universal translator, the device nestled securely behind his ear. It symbolized humanity's most advanced effort to decode the intricate tonal language of the SCI. He inhaled deeply as the airlock cycle finished. With a quiet hiss, the door slid open, unveiling a corridor bathed in a pulsating bluish ambient light, almost like a rhythmic heartbeat. The architecture was entirely fluid, curves and flowing lines, devoid of sharp edges. Thomas stepped inside, his boots thudding softly against the metallic floor. "Welcome aboard the Astralise," a melodic voice emanated from the translator. While the words in his ear were English, he perceived the underlying tonal shifts and clicks of the native SCI language. Turning to face the speaker, Thomas nearly fumbled his toolkit. The alien before him was tall and slender, with iridescent skin that shimmered between blue and violet depending on the light. Large, almond-shaped eyes observed him with what he interpreted as curiosity. Captain Vea, the alien, introduced herself, touching a six-fingered hand to her chest in what Thomas presumed was a greeting. "Thomas Reed," he responded, awkwardly mirroring the gesture. "Earth Space Authority. I'm here regarding your propulsion systems." Vea tilted her head slightly. The translator relayed her reply. The quarters allocated to Thomas were surprisingly comfortable despite their alien design. A sleep platform molded to his body when he tested it, and environmental controls had been set to human comfortable temperatures. After informing Earth Space Authority of his extended stay, Thomas resumed work on the damaged propulsion system. By his second day aboard the Astralise, Thomas had made substantial headway in mapping the damage. The ship's core technology, what the SCI termed the resonance matrix, operated on principles that defied conventional physics. Yet, there was an elegant logic to it that Thomas found increasingly compelling. "Your comprehension develops rapidly," Vea remarked as she entered the engine room. Today, her skin shimmered with a lighter blue hue, which Thomas had come to associate with a positive disposition. "The principles aren't entirely unfamiliar," Thomas replied. "It is not merely physical, it represents the shedding of pretenses between different beings." As she sat beside him, Thomas realized that what he had perceived as nakedness was actually a revelation of Vea's true skin, which seemed to function as both covering and communication. The patterns flowing across its surface conveyed meaning beyond what his eyes could decipher. "Your discomfort is understandable," Vea said, her voice gentler. "Perhaps I should have offered a more thorough explanation before proceeding." Thomas inhaled deeply, reminding himself that understanding alien cultures was part of his job. "Perhaps we can find a compromise. A way to honor your tradition while respecting my cultural boundaries." Vea considered this, her skin shifting to a thoughtful violet hue. "Would you be amenable to sharing words of truth instead? Speaking that which is normally concealed?" Relief washed over Thomas. "Yes, that I can do." As the evening progressed, Thomas found himself relating stories of Earth, his personal aspirations, and even his initial apprehension about this assignment. Vea, still in her unburdened state, shared tales of distant worlds and SCI philosophy. When Thomas finally returned to his quarters, his mind raced with the day's events. The cultural gap between them was wider than he'd anticipated, yet somehow they had found a way to bridge it. Tomorrow would bring more repairs, and undoubtedly, more cultural discoveries. Thomas awoke the following morning, his mind still processing the previous day's cultural exchange with Vea. The misunderstanding had been awkward but illuminating, a genuine learning experience about SCI. Thomas felt a new level of trust developing between them as Vea called out readings in her native language, which the translator converted to technical specifications he could understand. Her precision was remarkable, she clearly knew her ship intimately. "Energy fluctuation detected," Vea suddenly announced, her skin darkening with concern beneath her garments. "The matrix is destabilizing." Thomas worked faster, his fingers deftly connecting the replacement components. "Almost there, just need to seal the connection." A sudden power surge sent sparks flying from the coupling. Thomas recoiled instinctively, but not before a shower of energy particles cascaded across his arm. He hissed in pain as the particles burned through his sleeve. Thomas! Vea was instantly at his side, concern evident in her voice. You're injured. I'll be fine, he assured her through gritted teeth. But we need to stabilize that coupling before. The ship's lights flickered ominously, and a low-pitched alarm began to sound. Primary resonance destabilizing, announced an automated voice in Signy, which the translator struggled to keep pace with. Cascade failure imminent. Ignoring the pain in his arm, Thomas turned back to the coupling. We need to complete the connection now, or the whole system could collapse. Vea hesitated only a moment before making a decision. She removed her outer garment, revealing her communicative skin, which now glowed with intense patterns. I can absorb some of the energy overflow through direct contact. My species evolved to channel electromagnetic energy. Thomas understood immediately. Do it! As Thomas worked to complete the connection, Vea placed her hands directly on the adjacent power conduits. Her skin flared brightly as she absorbed the excess energy, redirecting it through her body's natural conductivity. The translator fell silent, unable to interpret the complex patterns racing across her exposed skin. With the energy stabilized, Thomas completed the final connections. The alarm ceased, and the ship's lights returned to normal illumination. He stepped back, breathing heavily, only then fully aware of the burning sensation along his arm. You require medical attention, Vea insisted, her skin still glowing from the absorbed energy. In the medical bay, a Signy healing technician applied a cooling gel to Thomas's burns while Vea explained what had transpired. The technician's skin displayed patterns that Thomas now recognized as concern. Your swift action averted a major system failure, Vea told Thomas as his arm was being treated. Few of your kind would comprehend our technology sufficiently to accomplish such repairs. We made a good team, Thomas acknowledged. Your ability to channel the excess energy was remarkable. Vea's skin rippled with what might have been embarrassment. It is a natural ability, though rarely required in such circumstances. Later, as they shared another meal and what Thomas now understood was a significant cultural practice, they discussed the day's events more personally. I believe I understand now, Thomas said thoughtfully. When you revealed yourself yesterday, it wasn't just about physical unburdening. It was about showing me your true means of communication. Vea's skin brightened appreciatively. Yes. The patterns I display are as much my voice as the words I speak. Today, when the translator failed during the crisis, you seemed to understand anyway. Thomas nodded, surprised by the realization. I did, somehow. I'm beginning to recognize certain patterns. As they continued talking late into the ship's night cycle, Thomas felt a growing connection to Vea that transcended their cultural differences. The crisis had forged something unexpected between them, a bridge of understanding that mere words could never have built. The fourth day aboard the Astralise began with renewed purpose. Thomas's injured arm had responded well to the Signy healing treatment, leaving only mild discomfort. As he made his way to the engine room, he found himself increasingly attuned to the ship itself, the subtle vibrations beneath his feet, the rhythmic hum of the systems, and the gentle pulse of the ambient lighting all seemed to communicate the vessel's status to him. Your presence has become familiar to the ship, Vea observed when she joined him. Today, her skin held a warm amber undertone that Thomas hadn't seen before. What do you mean? He asked, gathering his tools for the day's work. The Astralise responds to those who understand her, Vea explained. Our ships are partially biological, synchronized with their crews through resonance fields. Thomas paused, processing this new information. Are you saying the ship is alive? Not as you understand life, Vea clarified. But not entirely mechanical either. It exists in the space between your concepts of organic and inorganic. This revelation shifted Thomas's entire understanding of the repairs he'd been conducting. He wasn't just fixing machinery, he was healing a semi-sentient entity. The realization both fascinated and humbled him. That explains why conventional diagnostic methods gave inconsistent results, he mused, recalling his initial confusion with the ship's systems. Vea's skin flickered with approval.
You adapt quickly to new paradigms.
A valuable trait. They spent the morning completing repairs on the tertiary coupling and began work on the secondary systems.
Their efficiency had improved dramatically, with Vea anticipating Thomas's needs before he could voice them, and Thomas understanding Vea's instructions even when the translators struggled with technical terminology.
During a brief rest period, Thomas studied Vea more openly than he had before. Her movements were graceful and precise, her tall frame moving with an efficiency that spoke of complete harmony with her environment. When she noticed his attention, her skin rippled with questioning patterns. "I was just thinking," Thomas admitted, "how different our species are, yet how similar in other ways."
"We both value knowledge, exploration, and connection," Vea added, her voice softening. "Though we express it differently."
A moment of understanding passed between them, charged with something beyond mere professional cooperation.
Thomas felt a pull toward her that transcended cultural curiosity, a connection he hadn't anticipated forming.
The ship's alert system interrupted the moment, a series of urgent tones filling the engine room.
"Gravitational anomaly detected," came the automated announcement.
"Collision course with uncharted debris field."
Vea's skin darkened instantly.
"The navigation systems are still compromised from the initial damage.
Without full propulsion capabilities, we cannot alter course quickly enough." Thomas's mind raced through possibilities. The primary drive, could we bring it online temporarily? Just enough for evasive maneuvers?
His hands moved across the controls with increasing confidence as he felt the ship responding to his guidance.
Entering debris field perimeter in 3, 2, 1.
The first impacts were minor, small fragments bouncing off the remaining shields. Thomas adjusted their trajectory constantly, feeling for the ship's responses and compensating for its wounded state. The vessel shuddered around them as larger pieces scraped along its hull. "Port shield failing," reported a crew member. Thomas immediately adjusted, rolling the ship slightly to protect its vulnerable side. His hands moved instinctively now, guided by a combination of training, intuition, and an unexpected connection with the vessel itself. A particularly large asteroid fragment appeared directly in their path. Thomas fired the forward thrusters in a precise sequence, sending the ship into a controlled dive that carried them beneath the obstacle with barely meters to spare.
Vea's hand came to rest on his shoulder, her touch transmitting both support and concern.
Thomas was acutely aware of her closeness as he navigated the final stretch of the debris field, the ship responding to his increasingly confident commands.
And then, suddenly, they were clear.
The viewscreen showed open space ahead. The bridge erupted in the musical sounds of Signy expressions of relief. Thomas released his grip on the controls, suddenly aware of how tightly he'd been holding them. "You have saved the Astralise and her crew," Vea said, her voice carrying emotion the translator couldn't fully convey.
Such skill, such intuition. Thomas stood, finding himself unexpectedly unsteady after the intense concentration. Vea's hand remained on his shoulder, stabilizing him.
"The ship helped," he said modestly.
"It was like we understood each other."
"Yes," Vea agreed, her skin glowing with a warm radiance that seemed to envelop them both. "The Astralise recognized you, as I have, as someone worthy of trust." Their eyes met,
a harmony that surpasses our disparities.
Her complexion shimmered, patterns shifting across her surface in what Thomas now understood as displays of profound feeling. "Thomas Reed, I desire to complete the Akri Shala with you, not simply as a diplomatic formality, but as a genuine bond."
Her intent was evident even without the translator's assistance.
Thomas felt his heart race as he